are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan on Twitter. Here to talk about the latest in Auburn news as we have a football conversation today as spring practice creeps around the corner. I don't know exactly when it starts, but I know Troy started theirs this week. Alabama starting theirs this week, so I'm pretty much determined Auburn is starting theirs. I just don't have an exact date on when it's starting. So I did want to talk about what does a successful 2025 season look like for the Auburn Tigers. Of course, the betting odds have come out. The win totals have come out. Auburn projected to be a 7.5 win team this season, and whether or not you believe it's over or under is up for debate. But I wanted to go through and look at what I think Auburn football needs to do to call the 2025 season a success in year 3 of the Hugh Freeze era. So starting off, I mean, a big issue from last year. I need the offense and defense to swap the number of turnovers. To end the year last year, Auburn ranked 119th in turnover margin. They gained 13 turnovers and they gave up the football 22 times, which is a margin of -9. Auburn, I mean, I'm on the last page of the stat sheet. Auburn is down there at the bottom of the bin, last in the SEC. Right, I say right behind. They'd be behind Arkansas by 1. They're behind Kentucky by 2, which is bad considering how bad I think Kentucky is going to be in this upcoming season. But I need a mixture of two things. I need the offense to hold on to the football. And of course, last year they started off the year terribly doing that, but ending out, they didn't give the football up that much. And it was a nice progression and a nice development that we saw with the offense. It became a lot safer, and it might be a attribute of the simplification that happened offensively. But defensively, I mean, the defense was great last year. The front seven did what they needed to do. They got pressure on the quarterback. They were forcing they were stopping the run. The defense was forcing, incomplete passes. It just wasn't, they just weren't able to get the ball back. That was the biggest issue. My biggest gripe with the defense last year was their inability to get the ball back. They had 8 interceptions and they had 5 fumble recoveries. And I mean, it took 3 or 4 weeks for Auburn to get their first interception in the year. I mean, you can't have that, especially whenever you have an SEC that's kind of merging into more of a pass first kind of conference. And of course, I don't think the quarterbacks are all that great. Of course, the ones on Auburn's schedule are. I mean, the SEC does have some really good quarterbacks, but the ones Auburn's coming up next, I mean, you don't really have a bunch of star-studded guys. And of course, I mean, we don't know what exactly Baylor holds going forward, but John Mateer is a good one. I couldn't. I mean, A&M has a good quarterback. Missouri is going to be without Brady Cook. I don't think Taylor Green, I do believe, is back. Kentucky, Zach Calzada is there. Diego Pavia back for his 18th year of eligibility. And then who knows who's starting a quarterback for Alabama. So going forward into this year, I need to see the defense get more turnovers, and I want to see a more complete-looking offense turnover-wise. I don't want to see Auburn go back-to-back games of having 5 interceptions thrown. I would like to have back-to-back games of Auburn's defense getting 5 interceptions. It'd be a much nicer a change of pace for what we went through last year. Because honestly, I think I said this before, the 2024 season, you went 5-7. And I shouldn't be looking at a 5-7 record and feel more embarrassed by that record than I did by a 3-9 record in 2012. That's how frustrating last year was for me and probably the rest of the Auburn family. But yeah, moving on. Keeping it defensively here, number 4, I want to see the secondary will need to be able to substitute without a noticeable drop-off and just coverage abilities. Of course, Auburn had a very young defensive back core last year. I mean, Jared Thompson was your oldest guy there, but I mean, of course he was. But Jay Crawford, Amon Langanis are going to go into their second years in the program. You got guys like Caleb Harris, who again, got his first few starts last year. It's going to be a starter this year. You have veterans now. And you built up through the portal too. You got guys that you want to get in depth wise, and whenever you got that kind of talent coming in from the portal, you shouldn't have to deal with guys missing assignments. Whenever you're bringing in veterans from the portal, you got guys who are going into year 2 in the Durkin defense. You shouldn't have it. It happened a lot last year, where if Crawford went out, the next best guy would be the primary target for the quarterback. You can't have that going into next year. So I think the big thing is making sure the depth of the secondary is, adequate enough to make quarterbacks second guess testing the next guy up. You talk about, look at the basketball team. You add a 6-man to Todd Pettiford. I mean, no team is gonna Denver Jones off. Now we got to do it with Todd Pettiford. This should be easy. No one's doing that. But defensively, I mean, the defense is not a part of this team that I'm completely worried about. It's the depth behind the starters that I'm like, okay, well, let's see what they got. Let's see what they hold here. Because I mean, Blake Woodby and a lot of those guys for the 25 class, I expect a lot of those guys to be in pretty early. But it's up to them to get ready and be prepared for the SEC. Be prepared for, you open up the season with a Power 4 team in Baylor. You're not playing in Auburn. You're playing in Waco. So a nice little wake-up call to start the year off with right there. Third thing, Jackson Arnold unlocks full potential. Of course, this is a 5-star plus quarterback by on 3, 5-star quarterback. Literally every single recruiting platform had Jackson Arnold as a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school. And you went into the portal. I mean, he wasn't a 5-star. It wasn't, but he was a highly touted quarterback because of what his talent level can be. You're putting all your chips in on Jackson Arnold to get you to get you to where you're wanting to go, to get you to your destination. Hugh Freeze is at this point, I was just going to say self-proclaimed quarterback whisperer. It was something he said in his first press conference. He said he was good at 2 things: developing quarterbacks and turning teams around quickly. Year 3, you have 11 wins in 2 years, and you've yet to fully develop a quarterback. There was improvement in Peyton Thorne. You're putting all your chips on Jackson Arnold here. You brought him in. You got Deuce Knight in to be the guy next up. You brought in Ashton Daniels to be a solid veteran backup behind Arnold or behind Deuce in that regard too. But you need a great season out of Jackson Arnold here. Again, I mean, the SEC is wide open in 2025. Auburn has everything given to them to possibly find ways to get to a postseason or even get to an SEC championship or get to a playoff game. Auburn has the talent to do that. You're not spending all NIL money on a top 10 transfer portal class and a top 10 high school recruiting class if you're not planning on getting to the promised land that Auburn's ever gotten to since the college football playoff started. I mean, Auburn wasn't the first ever CFP ranking, and after that, it was kind of give or take on whether or not Auburn was going to be there or not. And of course, Auburn's yet to have been to a playoff game. It's up to Jackson Arnold this year. Everything's on him. If not, it's up to Deuce Knight. And do you put a freshman in right away? What can go wrong? I mean, who's to say that Jackson Arnold even has the job? That's the big thing with spring practice here is, Deuce Knight's on campus. Ashton Daniels, I don't believe is on campus yet, but right now it'd be a 2-man race. Deuce or Jackson Arnold. Do you go with the guy who has 2 years of experience in Power 4 football, Power 5 football, his first year, who has all the potential in the world, or do you go for the guy who, again, has all the potential in the world but no experience? I think it's Jackson Arnold's job to lose, and if he's the quarterback going 2025, I mean, it's on him. The offense is going to be all eyes are on Jackson Arnold 2025, and you got a whole offseason, Hugh Freeze, to prove that you can develop a quarterback and show off that the scouting reports are right about Jackson Arnold. So yeah, it's my third thing there. Jackson Arnold needs to unlock his full potential. Number 2, those close 2024 losses need to be turned into 2025 wins. So let me go through something here. I talk about this I've talked about this a lot over the course of the season. So, second game of the year with Cal. Auburn lost by 7. And that was one of those 5 interception games. You go down again, go to Arkansas. You lost by 10, but you also had 5 interceptions in that game. I'm counting 10. I'm counting 10 is close. 7 to 10. Oklahoma, you lost by 6. Georgia was close until the dam broke and you botched a 4th and 1. Missouri was 4 points. Vanderbilt was 10. Alabama was 14. I mean, you had some very close losses, and it's got everybody looking at the 5-7 record from last year and like, well, the Auburn's better than the record suggests. Well, guess what? 5-7 doesn't get you nothing at the end of the year. You don't get a postseason game. You don't get a Birmingham Bowl. You don't get a Music City Bowl. You don't get any of that. All you get is a quick end of the year and no bowl practices to look early at your recruits who want to enroll in December. Those losses need to be turned around. I mean, you go through the schedule next year, and I'll go down talk about this all through the offseason. You got Baylor, and that game is a toss-up starting off with. But you got Ball State and South Alabama. Those 2 should be wins. You go to Oklahoma, which is going to be a tough environment. It's the first SEC game of the season for both teams. Oklahoma, even with John Mateer, I'm not sold on Oklahoma being a quality team next year because I don't trust Brent Venables. That game should be a win for Auburn because you had their number last year, and they lost a lot of talent through the portal. A&M, that game also a toss-up. Don't know what A&M is going to look like in 2025. But, I mean, Auburn beat them last year, but now you got College Station. And, of course, this full rivalry doesn't really favor the away team most of the time. Then Georgia, which I'm not – who knows what Georgia looks like next year. They had a down year last year. They lost the talent they had. Gunnar Stockton will go into his first full year as a starting quarterback. Carson Beck followed his girlfriend to Miami. Who knows what Georgia looks like? Missouri. I don't see Missouri being as good of a team as they were the past 2 years. They lost Luther Burden. They lost Theo Weiss. They lost Brady Cook. And a few guys on the defense. Arkansas. I don't know if Sam Pittman has any plans to turn this team fully around again. I don't know what they're going to look like. Kentucky. You got beat Kentucky last year. And Kentucky, I think, is going to be the worst team in the SEC this year. I fully believe that. But now you got at Vanderbilt. You lost by 10 to Vanderbilt. Your defense played the exact way they needed to play. You held Vanderbilt to under 20 points, which is not something a lot of teams can say they did last year. I don't even think any teams outside of Auburn can say they did that last year. But the offense only put up 7. Can't have that. And then, of course, Mercer, and then, of course, you got Alabama at home. It's a manageable season. And I'm going to build off of what 2 is and go to what 1 is. I said it earlier in the episode. Auburn is currently favored to win 7.5 games. That's the over/under, 7.5. A successful season for the Auburn Tigers in 2025 is having a record that is 8-4 or better. But 8-4 season proves to the fans that you know what you're doing. You're on the right track. This is a substantial improvement to 5-7, but you want to see wins build up. You don't want to see 6-6. 7-5 doesn't even seem like it should be a unfireable season because the talent on this team is 8 wins at the minimum. This team is very talented, and you put them up against the rest of the SEC, and I mean, it's impressive. Auburn has one of the best wide receiver cores in the SEC. DJ Durkin turned this defense into a bunch of menaces last year. You got these freshmen that come in and play right away. You got guys like Malik Autry and Jared Smith who can start on your defense right away. And I would like to go through their numbers and kind of go through which numbers I like and which numbers I don't like. Jared Smith is one of the ones I don't like at 41. I think it's just a weird number for a guy who might start next year. Not this upcoming year, but definitely the next year. It just feels like an odd number, which I'm not opposed to. I think Josh Allen wore 41, not mistaken, from Kentucky. But 8-4 seems like the baseline for what a successful year looks like for the Auburn Tigers. You got to make it to the postseason. And I even say, 9-4 at that matter. You got to get a bowl win. Auburn's not seen a bowl win since they beat Purdue in the Music City Bowl. And ladies and gentlemen, that was 2019, not 2019. It was earlier. It was 2017, 2018. The thing was Jarrett Stidham. Jarrett Stidham was the quarterback last time Auburn won a bowl game. Win a bowl game. that's most of the stuff here is. But yeah, I think when you're looking at it, Auburn's got to hit that over for this season. I don't think 7-5 gets it done. Anything below that, hot seat. The seat is fully engulfed in flames. 7-5, you could probably get away with. 8-4 is where you want to be, though. Again, manageable schedule. Those SEC games that you struggled with in like Missouri, you got them at home. Kentucky, you got them at home. Vanderbilt, you're in Nashville. Arkansas, you're in Fayetteville. But like Georgia and Bama, those are more manageable. You were so good against Georgia last year until things just went south quick. You held Alabama down, but you just couldn't score points. You got to do that in 2025. A good season for Auburn football is 8-4. That is what you should strive for. Strive for 12-0. Strive for 16-0. Whatever one you can get. 15-0, which I don't know what the one is now for 1 through 4 seed. I think it's still 15-0. Strive for undefeated. But 8-4 at the end of the regular season is what Auburn needs. Is where Auburn needs to be. And 2026, you start aiming for the stars instead of and going undefeated, winning the SEC, stuff like that. That's a future goal. If it happens this year, it happens this year. I'd be super stoked. But 8-4 is where I needed this team to be at the end of this upcoming season. And that's what a successful season looks like. So let me know, what does Auburn football need to do to impress you in 2025? And of course, what's your prediction record? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. We're going to go to a quick little break. Other side of this break, we're going to talk about Auburn basketball and their loss to Texas A&M. Talk a little bit preview the Auburn-Alabama game this weekend to end the regular season for men's basketball. And then we'll round out the show talking about what happened this week with the midweeks of baseball and softball. A little bit of preview of gymnastics too. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program. And of course, available on thewarreport.com. Go to the shop. Second page, you'll find both the college loop hat and the Feelin' Loopy t-shirt. Both come from items you can wear in your entire life. Of course, that's only one way to support the channel. The best way to support the channel is, of course, by liking, by commenting, and by subscribing. Again, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. What's your prediction for Auburn football in 2025? And what does a successful season look like for you? this upcoming season. Let me know in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe as well. Can't overstate that enough. We're getting so close to 1,000 subscribers. It'd be super cool to hit that milestone. And of course, last thing, don't forget to join the College Loot Bracket Challenge. You can go ahead and join it now as we get ready for March Madness to start in just like a week and a week and a half. And then we got brackets galore, 2 tickets to 8A on the line as soon as y'all join. I think I only got like 2 people in right now. It's me and somebody else at this current moment. I might be wrong. I'm going to check that actually while I'm getting ready. So Auburn men's basketball getting ready to end the regular season this weekend versus Alabama to finish the Iron Bowl of basketball home and home. Game will be at 1:30 p.m. CST. But before we can talk about that game, of course, I got to talk about what happened on Tuesday. Now, I went on there and I said Auburn would win this game. I was wrong. Auburn took a loss, and it was ugly. It was ugly. Auburn loses Texas A&M 83-72, finding ways to, just another example of Texas A&M just being the most annoying team in the country, or at least to Auburn standards. Buzz is an absolute menace to Bruce Pearl. Somehow he always has a defensive strategy ready to go to lock down whatever Auburn is planning on doing that day. And it worked. You go by plus minus standards here. I mean, every single starter was in the minus for Auburn. The highest plus for Auburn was Chris Moore with 5. Ja'Kai had 0 on the plus minus. Jaheim Hudson and Chaney Johnson both had 1. Dylan Cardwell minus 13. Chad Baker-Mazara minus 17. Miles Kelly minus 9. Jani Broom minus 11 in his first career start, minus 12 for Tahad Pettiford. And I mean, Tahad had a great night scoring wise, 6 for 10 from 3-point line, 19 points. Chadwick Mazara had 15 points. Miles Kelly had 12 points. Jani Broom, not a great night, and it's back-to-back games for Jani. And kind of where you might have lost that National Player of the Year award because of the media kind of laser focused on what Cooper Flagg does at Duke. But yeah, back-to-back games that, you're like, okay, he played good defensively, but offensively just wasn't there. 8.7 rebounds for Jani Broom, mixing that with 2 assists and 2 blocks as well. But I mean, again, this is just another day of Auburn falling into the trap that is Texas A&M. Points in the paint, A&M out beat Auburn 36-28. Bench points, 36-10 in A&M's favor. Big thing here, noteworthy stat: 29-11 second chance points in favor of Texas A&M. Rebounds, Auburn got out-rebounded by almost 20, 41-25. Points off turnovers, 18-11, A&M's favor. Auburn had 2 more turnovers than A&M did. Auburn shot the ball pretty well, 50, 41, and 87. 50 from the field, 41 from the 3-point line, 87 from the free throw line. But it just came down to Auburn not being able to get boards. I mean, offensively, it was 24-9 in A&M's favor. Auburn got 9 offensive rebounds. Defensive rebounds pretty similar, but that's just the big picture there. Is Auburn was not getting the rebounds they needed to get. And the second chance points built up for A&M. Auburn had every opportunity to get back into this game and win it, but it's just a rough outing. Just a rough outing. And, of course, up next is Auburn and Alabama taking on each other in round 2 of the Iron Bowl of basketball. Auburn currently favored to win this game by ESPN FPI standards, 77% in favor of the Auburn Tigers. Of course, Alabama also coming off a loss, losing to Florida last night, 99-94. So both teams coming off of a loss. Bama actually coming off of, I believe, 2 losses in a row after that beautiful buzzer beater by Tennessee. Excuse me. I mean, this is Bama going to try to get revenge here. I mean, Auburn handled Alabama last time they played each other. Bama not being able to have the lead for 1 second in their game inside the airplane hangar. They'll be looking to try to do the same to Auburn. Of course, Auburn already clinched the first seed in the SEC tournament, pretty much clinched the number 1 seed in the March Madness tournament. Now you got Alabama. And I think if you find a way to take down Alabama in the same fashion you did, which I don't think is possible. I think it's possible. I don't think it's going to happen. I think you pretty much lock up that number 1 overall seed. But after this game of this SEC tournament, and what's Alabama going to do? I mean, Alabama's going to do the same thing they've been doing all year. They're going to try to control the pace of the game. They're going to try to score and score at will. Mark Sears is averaging 19 points a game. And I mean, he is a bucket. He's a bucket. But last time these two teams played, Auburn held them from the 3-point line pretty much the entire first half. They were not able to put up anything. Held Alabama to 33 points in the first half of their first meeting this season. And I think Auburn's going to do it again. I think you're going to lock in for the Iron Bowl. It's been, I think, a couple years since Auburn swept Alabama. It was definitely it was Jabari year. But last year it split. It'd be nice to win that state championship and make sure that Bama can't say anything about locking down a sweep. It's got to happen. I like Auburn in this game. I like it a lot here. With the being in Neville Arena, hopefully it kind of sparks anew and kind of turns the energy back around. I think Auburn definitely lost some of that momentum they had. I don't know if Denver Jones is going to be playing in this game. I feel like he still might be listed as questionable in this. Which, I mean, I don't think Tahad played terribly, but definitely showed his youth against Texas A&M. And I mean, I think I don't think he would cost Auburn the game versus Alabama, but I would like to see more of what Auburn's got off the bench. I think Ja'Kai had a pretty decent outing versus A&M. I guess you're just never going to see JP Pegues, which I guess was a bad take on my part. But I trust Jahad. I trust BP. And I want a healthy Denver Jones in March Madness. So if he's not ready to go, let Tahad run it and just kind of figure out what you're going to do guard-wise. Auburn needs that rotation of those 3 guards. It was imperative versus A&M. I mean, you're probably looking at it and saying, well, Denver Jones might be the most valuable player on this team for what he does defensively on both sides of the court. But yeah, I like Auburn in this game. I don't think it's going to be nearly what we saw in Coleman a couple weeks ago. I think it's going to be a lot closer. Definitely probably more back and forth. But I do like the Tigers to get the win versus Alabama, completing the sweep and find a way to maintain the number 1 overall ranking across the platforms. But yeah, I like Auburn. I do like Auburn. I can't tell I'm wearing Auburn all the time, but yeah, I like Auburn in this game to get the sweep. So that being said, going to round out the show. Going to do a little updates to what's going around Auburn athletics. So Auburn women's basketball ended their season with a loss in the first round SEC tournament to Florida. Of course, earlier in the year, Auburn beat Florida, but they just couldn't get it done versus the Gators tonight. Had another great performance from Deona Gaston, 16 points, 11 rebounds, ending her career at Auburn with yet another double-double, her 8th of the year. And I will take this moment to kind of just appreciate, Deona Gaston and what she did for the Tigers this year. I mean, dude, second team All-SEC, 5 30-point games. She got the 3rd most points scored in a season for an Auburn Tiger, like 644. No, I got to make sure I get that math right because that's absolutely crazy. And then, 644. And then, of course, averaged 22.5 points per game, which was 8th in the country. How she didn't get first team All-SEC is still blasphemy to me. But yeah, this is just a forgettable season for Auburn. You couldn't get You couldn't get to the free throw line that Florida could tonight. You shot terribly from 3-point line, which, I mean, Florida did too. You just didn't shoot well. You rebounded well. You didn't pass the ball well. It's a forgettable season. You got to take it and move on. I think Coach Jay is the right person in charge. But it's just a bad season. Just a bad season. You were unlucky. Leads were lost in the middle of games. Energy was nowhere to be found at times. And health was a major issue this past year. So looking forward to next year. Hopefully things can get turned around and start looking in the right direction. Of course, that will round out women's basketball until next year. Auburn Softball took on the midweek yesterday, beat down Troy by a score of 12-2. Now, let me paint this picture here. Auburn did not start this game off good. They could not hit the ball. They were striking out left and right. Troy's pitcher had like 8 strikeouts at one time in this game. You go into the 4th inning. Troy has the lead. It's 2-0 at the start of the 4th inning. And what happens at this moment? Well, Auburn flips the switch. They flipped a switch, and it was immaculate to watch. Haley Rainey got the start, but Estee Guerin got the win here. Auburn had 4 home runs in this game. All of them came in the 4th inning. Kylie Brockman hit 2 of them. Auburn went on a tear. 2-0 at the start of the 4th inning. And Auburn put up 12 runs. It was just awesome to watch happen. And it really goes to show how good this offense is. You were down 2-0, and then you run ruled the opposing team just because of one inning. It was crazy. It was absolutely bonkers to watch. Annalee Adams is next up too. She is an absolute dog as a freshman. She had a 2 RBI double in the 2nd inning and really got things started, as did the entire lineup. I mean, it completely restarted from the top of the lineup in the 4th inning. But yeah, it was a great win for Auburn Softball. Troy is a good team. They're a really good team. They got a good pitcher rotation, especially Alyssa Faircloth. She was really good. 8 strikeouts is no laughing matter. Auburn just found the zone. And of course, up next for Auburn Softball is the SEC series, the first up versus Mississippi State in Starkville. Of course, Mississippi State is ranked currently. I think they're like top. They're in the top 25. I don't know exactly where they fall. I think they're like 19-ish, which is 2 under Auburn. And they're just as good offensively as Auburn is. They got 34 home runs on the year. They're batting about 300. They're a very solid team. 3.32 is what they're batting this season. Pitching wise, they got a nice pitching rotation. They're 19-3 on the year. Their ERA is 2.28. They're shutting down offenses left and right. This will be one of the, I don't want to say a first true test. Auburn Softball has already pretty much proven that they are a good team this year. But I mean, it is a test. And what can they do in an SEC environment? What can they do in Starkville whenever Mississippi State, might start lighting up the scoreboard? This week could end up being a series of extra innings of game in and game out. I would like to see Auburn win these. I think Auburn might drop 1, which, I mean, they could very well lose this. The SEC is loaded at softball, as they are in every other sport. But I mean, you're going to be heavily relying on your pitching rotation this weekend versus Mississippi State. And I like the Tigers. It's hard for me to pick against Auburn softball. I love watching them. I can't lie. Today was like the first day I actually got to sit down and actually watch Auburn softball. I had an open weekend opened afternoon. Able to sit down and just kind of watch Auburn softball. I watched that game from start to finish. It was so fun to watch. Of course, also yesterday, Auburn baseball took on UAB and lost 6-5, 6-5. Just a game where Auburn just could not pitch themselves out of a problem. They had the lead and it was given up, and then they tied the game back up, and then UAB got the lead again. They walked off. It was not a great performance from Auburn pitching wise, and get another chance to redo that this weekend versus Old Dominion. Pitchers have been announced. You got to make up for what happened versus UAB. You got a midweek loss. You have a loss to Holy Cross on your resume. Old Dominion's up next. After that, you got another midweek, and then you got Vanderbilt to start the SEC play. So things to look forward to for Auburn baseball. Need to turn things around in the pitching rotation. And of course, last up, what's going on this weekend? Auburn gymnastics continuing their season. I'm blanking. I don't have it pulled up in front of me. I know they play Missouri this week, which I don't think Missouri's ranked, if not mistaken. This game will be in Columbia, Missouri, so sadly will not be able to attend these. But yeah, Missouri not ranked as far as I know. But yeah, Auburn has had some issues this season when it comes to winning on the road. It'd be a nice change of pace to get a win at Missouri. And of course, it would help build the momentum as you get LSU to round of the year next week. Regular season, at least. Round of the regular season for Auburn gymnastics. So, yeah, super stoked for what's going on this weekend in Auburn athletics. Of course, don't forget Auburn versus Alabama on Saturday. So, it's going to do it for this episode of the College Loop. Of course, leave your thoughts. What is your prediction for Auburn football's record in 2025, and what does a good season look like for you? And don't forget to join the College Loop Bracket Challenge. It's available in the description below. The password's Feeling Loopy. Everybody knows this. It's our saying around here. Hashtag Feeling Loopy. So get ready for that. 2 8-day tickets up for grabs if you able to win the bracket challenge. I would like to get a lot more people involved in it than what we've gotten in the past few years. That way you get more of what's the word here? I want to say here. I'm blanking on the word. Just more people, more chances. Everyone gets an opportunity to get 2 free tickets to Auburn's 8A game on April 12th. Of course, that's as long as Auburn doesn't cancel it, which I don't think they will. But a few teams have canceled their 8A games. But of course, with that being said, thanks for watching some of the College Loop podcast. Check us out on social media platforms, all of them at the College Loop. Check us out on audio versions of the show as well. Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, where you can find us there. And of course, check me out on Twitter at your boy the Tank, at YABOY the Tank, and Instagram as well at Dylanlark, DYLENLARCK. So, with that being said, thanks for watching some of the College Loop podcast. We'll see y'all Sunday for the live stream talking about the Iron Bowl of basketball round 2. And with that being said, thanks for watching this installment of the College Loop podcast yet again. And as always, War Eagle.